Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm Eliana Kernodle. There were some protests at the University of Washington this week. Joining me to dig into this is Washington reporter for the Center Square, Spencer Pauly. What happened at the University of Washington?
Well, this happened Monday night, I should say. What occurred was a University of Washington, which I'm going to refer to as UW just to save some breath, but the UW group, Students United for Palestinian Equality and Return, better known as SUPER, demanded the university cut ties with Boeing, who has ties to the Israeli military operations. They have a contract with the country, and so they provide a lot of stuff that is used in the conflict going on in Gaza and Palestine. So a lot of students are upset about that. And what they decided to do was go into the engineering building on campus and occupy it. And they caused roughly $1 million worth of damage to this fairly new $10 million building. And this engineering building has a lot of work that's done in coordination with Boeing. So all this stems from that. Now, a group about 34 individuals were arrested that night, including 21 students for occupying this building and causing damage. They even lit some dumpster fires. So all of this had transpired on Monday night. They were released the next day. And of course, the fallout from all of this, the UW has posted that the students were arrested and banned, or they were suspended and banned from campus, and the non-students are also banned from campus as well. And all of this stems from the pro-Palestinian protests we're seeing, but this one escalated. Now, Super UW, the group, posted on Instagram that they are escalating their protest in response to the escalation of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. They say that they cannot afford to do peaceful protests for this. So what we're seeing here is this more radical action. Now, I do have to say, I didn't see any sort of violence coming from the protesters themselves. Any kind of video I've seen, I wasn't there, but the videos I've seen on social media involve any kind of physical conflict stems more from just interactions with police officers. And so I think that's important to clear out claims. So when we're talking about violence here, I know it gets a little iffy and dicey here, but I just have to say from what I've seen, it's been physical with police officers as opposed to anyone else, at least from what I've seen on social media.
And going back, you mentioned a little bit about the relationship between the University of Washington and Boeing.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the engineering program is sort of at the heart of that. Can you just sort of lay that out for us a bit?
Sure. Yeah. Boeing is based out here in Washington, and they are a major employer of UW students, especially in the engineering sector. So and I think it's important to note that Boeing donated $1 million to that new building. And so what I've heard is that these occupants came in, they defaced some of the pieces that look like they belong to Boeing. I believe there was a painting that Boeing instilled that was defaced by the protesters. And this Boeing has been a partner with UW for many decades. And so while I'm seeing these protests happen, it seems like it's a Hail Mary of an ask to have the university cut ties with one of its biggest employers of its students. But alas, this is what the students want. And as a result of their actions, they've been suspended. And there's more to face now. With the federal government now is tacking on to this. They're investigating what happened on Monday.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about the Trump administration's response to this?
It's pretty quick, Eliana. And what happened was we're seeing 3 federal agencies announce a review of the incidents at UW campus and its affiliates. They're citing anti-Semitic harassment and violence as occurred on the campus. Now, if no one's known yet, around this time last year, there was an encampment of students in support of Palestine. They took up most of the center part of the UW's campus. When I went there in person a few times just to see what happened, the first time there was only a small bit of a protest. The next time, I think there was a few dozen tents lined up, take over the entire, what they call the quad. And this is the main central area of this campus. And all of that was in support of Palestine. But even back then, they wanted the UW to cut ties with Boeing, which this school did not do. And so after seeing this, now what we're seeing is the same federal scrutiny that we're seeing in Columbia and Harvard universities, which is not really the kind of group you want to be in right now with potential loss of funding. So UW has put out a statement saying that they are going to comply, and they have consistently said they condemn anti-Semitism, and they emphasize that throughout the event that happened Monday, that they have been in communication with Jewish community leaders just to blunt accusations of any kind of inaction that they did on Monday. So that's where we're currently at right now.
And I know a big concern with a lot of this is anti-Semitism. Was there any incidences with Jewish students in this particular protest, or is that just kind of part of the larger picture and concern?
Like I said, with any kind of social media posts, I didn't see any direct physical violence against any kind of Jewish students or whatnot. But I think the rhetoric can be seen as anti-Semitic, especially when it's geared towards Israel. And that's what we're seeing now. So I think on a broader picture, that's where this stems. But I also can't speak for anything. I wasn't there in person. This is he said, she said. But when it comes to any kind of physical violence, it was involving police officers, in which the protesters were trying not to give up the occupied building. But ultimately they did. But they caused $1 million worth of damage in the process. So they made their point across, I suppose, here.
Well, Spencer, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story at thecentersquare.com.